morning, everyone. Today I am taking a divergent path from what I normally post, even though I know I've been kind of having to take a break from a lot of my videos and things like that as I've been taking care of my own health issues and making sure that I actually practice what I preach around self-care. But in light of what has been going on in our country, in light of what we are seeing as therapists, as mental health workers, as healthcare workers happening to the individuals that we serve, in the fear and the anxiety and the trauma inducing chaos that's going on in our society. I have found myself needing to speak out more, needing to adhere to my own personal ethical and moral principles, as well as my professional ethics as a therapist in being an advocate for those individuals that I serve. And whether people want to condemn me for being political, I honestly don't care. You can think what you want. I am not in any way enforcing my own beliefs on anyone else, but I am standing as an individual, again, not only personally, but professionally, who believes that the work that I do, my existence as a human being, is to not only look out for myself, but to look out for my fellow man, to protect my fellow man, to advocate for my fellow man, to speak for those who don't have the voices to speak for themselves. And if you want, well, actually, no, not if you want, I'm going to do it anyways. Our professional code of ethics, whether it is on the social work side, the counselor side, speak to our need of being advocates for our members, for our clients, for those that we serve. In the American Counseling Association, it is our primary responsibility. This is the very first ethical line written into our code of ethics, that it is our primary responsibility of counselors to respect the dignity and promote the welfare of clients. It is also our responsibility under the ACA Code of Ethics that when appropriate, counselors advocate at the individual, group, institutional, and societal levels to address potential barriers and obstacles that inhibit access and or the growth and development of clients. Under the National Association of Social Workers, the value of social justice with the ethical principle states that social workers challenge social injustice. Social workers pursue social change, particularly with and on behalf of vulnerable and oppressed individuals and groups of people. Social workers' social change efforts focus primarily on issues of poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and other forms of social injustice. These activities seek to promote sensitivity to and knowledge about oppression and cultural and ethnic diversity. Social workers strive to ensure access to needed information, services, and resources, equality of opportunity, and meaningful participation in decision-making for all people. So, on this day, June 14th, 2025, the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, of which I've had many of my members of my own family serve under, as well as the Navy and the Marine Corps and the Air Force. We are seeing the birthday of a prestigious military force being, quite honestly, usurped by the president of this country to celebrate his own birthday with a military parade, the likes of which we have never seen in this country, which is why people are so against it. Not only because is it reminiscent of dictatorships that exist in foreign countries that we as American citizens have fought against, since the inception of this country, but it is also a blatant misuse of funds, especially for an administration that is going around screaming about fraud, waste, and abuse in governmental spending, that is doing more and more to raise the national deficit with a parade that is costing us millions. A parade whose funding alone could help secure the monies needed for things that they are trying to cut in the big, beautiful bill, such as healthcare for our most vulnerable populations, our children, our elderly, our disabled, our veterans. These are people that I have served for the over 20 years that I have been in the mental health care system. That's the very funding that I work under. And this isn't about me keeping my job, although it did happen when funding was cut to Medicaid back during Bush 2. We saw detrimental effects among healthcare, mental health care, as well as medical care. We saw devastating cuts in education, and we're watching that happen again. We're watching programs that exist to protect people's rights systematically be destroyed. We are watching things that are protecting the future of our society, things that go into protecting our environment and the food that we eat every single day being removed because it's considered fraudulent, but yet a parade that's costing millions of dollars is not. And yeah, I'm probably totally getting off topic here, but this is kind of where a lot of this has started in this No Kings protest that's going on today. Because again, we are seeing people being harmed in our communities by the administration, by the legislation that they're trying to pass, by legislation that they have already passed. And I'm not going to go into further details about ICE. I have my own beliefs about all of that and the atrocities that I see that are happening right now. And do I believe that if people are here illegally and they're creating crimes, should they go back to their home countries? Yes. But does that mean that that's the children that are here going to school and people that are working in jobs and still trying to go about doing their citizenship the right and legal way? No. But that is what happened. These are the people that are being harmed. These are the people that are being pulled out of their schools, out of their homes, out of their vehicles, off the street, out of their jobs, in churches, in hospitals, even at the very court hearings that they're having to process their immigration the legal and right way. We are seeing our own citizens being disappeared off the street, from Native Americans as well as other US citizens, simply being racially profiled because of the color of their skin, who are not being allowed their rights to due process. And yeah, my cat is even in here protesting it right now. But, people are speaking up and they are loudly shouting their right to protest against what is happening in this country. And throughout my 40 plus years, this is probably one of the first ones that I have seriously felt like that I wanted to get out and march in as well. Not again just because of my own personal beliefs, but my professional ethics as a therapist and needing to advocate for those individuals that I serve across all ethnicities, across all sexualities and gender identities. I serve people. I work with people. I help people heal. What they are, the labels that are applied to them, is just one part of the fact that we're talking about human beings who deserve respect and compassion and concern, who deserve to not have their rights violated. So even though physically, as I said earlier, I'm dealing with a lot of health issues, I can't get out there and march physically. I also live in an area that is extremely hot, and we're under a heat advisory right now. And yeah, being out in the heat right now and my health is not going to be a good thing. But as I said earlier, I've been really motivated to speak out more and adhere to my personal and professional code of ethics of advocacy. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen a lot of those posts that I've shared, including discussions about our code of ethics within this field. Um, this is Pride Month. Last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. Next month in July is um, focusing on the mental health month of people of color. We're talking about mental health awareness for those that struggle the most within our healthcare and mental health care system in getting adequate access to healthcare, to being able to protect and heal themselves. This is also PTSD Awareness Month, and yet we see events going on in our country that are creating more trauma for our very own citizens and for the people who have come here seeking a better life, seeking what we as a nation have sought to build, what our founding principles as a country, we're watching it disappear before our eyes. And yeah, it's time to speak up for it. So today is about me sharing my own thoughts on that, but also to speak out in the way that I can. And what I'd like to share with you today is a poem by one of my favorite authors, Maya Angelou. Um, and just kind of, again, as an aside here, I was first introduced to Maya Angelou's work when I was in eighth grade. And that year, it was an accelerated novels and composition class. My mother was actually the teacher of that class, and she was my teacher in that class. One of the books on our list for reading that year was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And for those of you who are familiar with the book, you know it is considered one of the banned books in this country. It is a beautiful book, and there is nothing in there at all that is any way offensive or nothing that should get it banned. But I don't believe that any book should be banned. Um, that's a whole other topic. But when that book was brought forward on our reading list, parents, a couple parents out of our entire class complained. They complained based off the content of the book, saying that it would be harmful. And it was particular religious beliefs that I won't really get into today as well. So I asked my mom. I was really looking forward to reading that book. And up until that point in time, my mom hadn't wanted me to read it. She thought it was maybe too old for me. Um, and again, this is an accelerated novels and composition class. So all of us in that class were already reading at college level. So we had pretty high standards about the books that we read. We read things that were considered first year reading for high school students or college students. But again, we were reading them as eighth graders. And so I asked my mom, "Hey, mom, can I read this book and can I do a report on it as part of the class?" And she's like, "Sure, of course, I don't have a problem with that." The book came up again when I was in high school on the reading list, and again it was removed because of complaints about its content. And if you've read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, again, it's Maya Angelou's um, memoir. It's the story of her life, and it is a powerful and moving book. And after reading it, I really was drawn to her work more. I've read many of her poems. I've read others of her books as well. Like I said, she's one of my favorite authors. And what I'm going to share with you today, a reading of her poem, On the Pulse of Morning. And this poem was first presented by Maya Angelou on President Bill Clinton's inauguration in January of 1993. I wasn't, again, introduced to this poem actually until I was in college. It was a part of my college English courses, and that's when I realized that it had been read at his inauguration. And it is, again, a beautiful poem, and I think it is something that heavily speaks to what's going on in our world again. Um, and so I'd like to share it with you today. right, let's see if I can get through this without crying. On the Pulse of Morning by Maya Angelou, spoken at the presidential inauguration ceremony on January 20th, 1993. A rock, a river, a tree, host to species long since departed, mark the mastodon, the dinosaur who left dry tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully. Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny. But seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long face down in ignorance, your mouths spilling words armed for slaughter. The rock cries out to us today, you may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you a bordered country, delicate and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege. Your armed struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew you still knew nothing, the river sang and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me here beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed on traveler, has been paid for. You who gave me my first name, you Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you Cherokee nation who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, you, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the Kru, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on the nightmare, praying for a dream. Here root yourselves beside me. I am that tree planted by the river which will not be moved. I the rock, I the river, I the tree. I am yours, your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived. But if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leads forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here, on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out and upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country, no less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here, on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning. So I hope I did that justice for Maya Angelou. And if nothing else today, I hope you take these words to heart, and I hope that you reach out and become an advocate for positive change to your fellow men. And if you don't, then that's okay too. But remember, if you are a therapist listening to this, and if you believe that you can remain neutral as far as your political beliefs, please take a harder look at your ethical principles. And while you do not need to share what your political beliefs are with those that you serve, you do need to be open and understanding of how the current political situation, how the current administration, policies, and legislation is having a detrimental impact on the very people we seek to help heal. And make yourself aware. Listen to their voices and recognize that the current environment of our world is causing them harm. And it is our duty to help them navigate that. It is our duty to help them heal within that, which as we know, is so hard to do when the trauma is ongoing, when they're living day to day within that trauma. But most importantly, it is our own ethical mandate to advocate and to be cultural diverse in our practices, to honor the cultural diversity of the people we serve, to continue to educate ourselves on the diversity and the impacts, the societal impacts, that affect people on a day-to-day basis.